Rhodri.
Is there anything that Lionel Messi is better than you at?
It's opinions. I respect your opinions. Maybe in your opinion Messi is better than me, but in my mind I'm better than him.
I do it again.
Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what? Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what? Told her if it's all me, everything is on me. Gon' back it up. Matter what? Told you I'ma do me. Why you hating on me? It's not adding up. I do roll like a Mack truck. Country heart, I might cop a farm and go act up. Lot of scars, I was cold hearted, now I'm back up. Keep it real, I do this once a month. I don't rap much. I just hit the money and go stack up. Only buy car cards and get tatted up. All that other bull, it don't matter much. You only climb me, I put the ladders up. No fault, I done doubled up on the workload. I think I fell in love with the bankroll. Pray up, get money, then we lay low. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what? Add it up,
Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Ace Podcast Nation for Rhodri Giggs on football without Rhodri Giggs. Rodri's away this week, but we do have Mr. Rob Boyle's going to step in for the man himself shortly. He will join us. So we're going to talk all things football, as always. But if you don't know already, you can support the channel by joining at patreon.com/Ace Podcast Nation. You get loads of exclusive rewards, content, discounts, loads of different stuff. Price of a cup of coffee per month keeps the channel going, allows us to book studios, and everything goes back into the channel to hopefully take us forward. We've got some new content dropping soon. We've got a new series of My Story drops on Saturday lunchtime. We have the big debate coming every week on Tuesday usually, plus we have Rhodri Giggs on Football Thursdays, and Sugar and Silk are live on Facebook Sunday, the best boxing podcast in the game, not hosted by me, but by Mr. Ben Doherty. We've also got a short content series coming called Guess the Footballer, which will be on like Facebook Shorts or YouTube Shorts or whatever, where you can test your football knowledge to guess the mystery footballer, which so look out for that. In the meantime, let's do a little Super 6 update as we talk about testing your football knowledge. Let's have a look at how the Prediction League went this week. Raising money for charity, of course. There's only a few rounds left, but before the season ends, Rhodri has only gone and pulled one out of the bag. Managed to come joint top this week with David Leach. That means there's now only 20 points between myself and Rhodri. I'm still in the lead, but it is getting closer. 3 rounds left. Next round's 3 o'clock on Saturday. Make sure you get your predictions in and ready. Test your football knowledge against an array of ex-footballers and whatnot, and people, myself, Rhodri, whoever. Test your knowledge, see what's what. But let's talk some football, and let's see. I'm delighted to be joined by none other than Mr. Robert Boyle. How are you, my friend? You good?
Yeah, sorry about the lateness, mate. How's it going? You good?
All good, my friend. All good. How are you? You good?
Yeah, not bad. Worn out, bit of a mad rush in the end, considering I thought I was going to be early and turned out to be late. So, yeah, Thursday's a bit mental with football training, but all good, buddy. All good. You keeping well?
Yeah, mate, it's all good. It's Thursday's always a bit mental for me. It's always the way, but there we go. So we're going to talk some football, mate. Lots to discuss, lots to chat about. I'll tell you what, first and foremost, let's change our little angle. That's a bit better. We can see
get you closer.
See that face. I need to move my seat so my green screen stops mysteriously appearing. So it's impossible to know where to start. But I think what we'll do is we'll start with the Premier League and then we'll work our way to the Championship. Obviously, Rodders is a United fan and they are having an almighty wobble at the moment. Lost 2 on the bounce for the first time since the first 2 games of the season. It's strange, isn't it, mate? Because from the World Cup until Casemiro got suspended the first time, they looked like they might not quite put a title challenge in, but be there or thereabouts, and and they were on a great run. They were scoring goals, playing good stuff, defending well. Where do you think it's all gone wrong from? Do you think it's as simple as Martinez is injured and he makes everything tick, or do you think there's more to it?
Yeah, I think the injuries and suspensions definitely don't help, but part of me wonders whether they've just been, one of a couple of things, whether they've run out of steam. They put so much emphasis on the return after the World Cup, and maybe they've burnout on them. Or
they've played the most games in Europe, haven't they?
Yeah,
something ridiculous. But just on that, mate, I was going to say is the one thing I think Ten Hag did is when they were like in full, in all the competitions and everything, is he wasn't really rotating. He was playing like the same 12 or 13 players, probably because he doesn't trust the likes of Maguire and McTominay and whoever. So he's sticking with Bruno and Casemiro and like what has happened is they look knackered now. Which I get it. They're professional footballers; they get paid a lot, but they're also human beings, and I think it just catches up with you a little bit. Long season.
Yeah, I wonder as well if teams have found them out as well. Tactically, they've come in with a game plan, and it was working well for X amount of weeks, and it's one of those things now where teams have cottoned on to how they go about it, and they know how to play against them, how to stop them, how to stop Rashford and whoever, So it's probably a mixture of the lot, to be fair, mate.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at like Man City, Pep's changed his tactics about 3 times over the season, and I think that's where the depth comes in. It's not always the depth which helps you in terms of fatigue and stuff like that. It's when Plan A doesn't work. You're able to bring someone on and have a plan B, and I think they struggle if plan A doesn't work. Then you're straight away into all the players who've screwed over 3 or 4 managers over the last, since Fergie's left. Like it's the same players who failed all those managers. So I think it's tricky. But do you think they'll make top 4, or do you think Liverpool will pinch it off them?
No, I think it's pretty much a given now, isn't it? I think it's going to be as you are, mate. I think as the top 4 now. If anything, potentially Newcastle. I know they are a couple of points ahead, but if anyone's got the ability, I think, to self-implode because of the lack of experience of being up that way, could be them. But I still, it would take a catastrophic implosion.
If Liverpool win all their games, I think they can get 72 points, which means United would have to win 3 of their last 4 or 5 games to be guaranteed. And the next 2 games are against Wolves. Well, next 2 is Wolves at home, Bournemouth away, and Chelsea at home. Now, they should beat Wolves and Bournemouth, really, especially the Wolves game at home. They don't seem to have a problem at home.
No.
And Chelsea is not Chelsea of, the past 20 years. They have been laughable this season. Like, even the teams down the bottom are looking at Chelsea as, we can beat them because they're all over the place defensively, all over the place tactically. Rob, there's a slight echo on your line where I'm speaking. Would you be able to go out and back in, mate?
Of course I can.
Thank you, buddy. In the meantime, guys, if you've got any questions and stuff like that, anything you want us to talk about specifically, then, get them in. get the questions in and stuff like that, and we'll talk about it. A bit more free reign, because obviously, like Rod is, we do talk about the Championship, but he's not as well versed in his knowledge of the Championship as perhaps I am, and so some of the viewers are. But he tries his best, doesn't he? He tries his best. But we will stick with the Premier League for a second, and then we'll move to the Champions League, and then we'll talk about the Championship as well. Interesting, the Champions League. So, yeah, and I look at those. Look, I look at the games. United have been almost like they've turned Old Trafford into the old school fortress that it was, back in the day. Like they haven't lost many games at all there. So you look at their home games: Wolves, Chelsea, and I think they've got another one as well. I forget who it's against, but like they should probably win, or maybe even if they draw with Chelsea and win the other couple. Liverpool, even though they're on a great run, I don't see them winning every game. Like they'll slip up at some point. Like they're not the same team that they've been over recent years, but they do have experience in recent years of being in a title race and playing the end of the season under a great deal of pressure. But I mean, I look at their games. They're playing. Then Liverpool's next three is Leicester at Leicester, Villa at Liverpool, and then Southampton. So on paper, they all look, they should win them easy. But you know what it's like, mate. These relegation teams who are in a battle to, like Southampton and Leicester, they have to win. They have to get something from these games to have any chance of staying up, because they both look doomed at the moment. So they're not necessarily, you go into Leicester, you go into Southampton. It's not as simple as, they're down the bottom. We should, for easy 3 points. Like they throw up a bit of odd results, don't they?
Yeah. Is that any better, by the way?
Yeah, it's a little bit better. Mate. It's still there, but it's better than it was.
Okay. Oh, Chris, I hear it then as well. I'll try again in a second. That's the thing with the bottom three teams, isn't it? I think, like, especially Leicester now, because they still got a chance, I think, of staying up, where Southampton are pretty much dead and buried.
Well, this is it. Southampton have to win games, don't they, to have any chance of staying up? So if Liverpool go to Southampton, like they've got to find a way to get a win. So this is it. Like, and I look at the bottom 4 or 5. I think Forest are going to stay up. I think Everton. I still think Everton are going to end up going down. Leeds. Got a feeling Big Sam Allardyce is going to just pull something out of the bag, and I think it's going to be Southampton, Leicester, and Everton which are going to go down, which is absolutely mental.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Sweet. So I was just saying, I'm looking at the bottom 5, right, and it's really close, but I think Forest are going to stay up because they just look like they're capable of winning games. I think Everton, even though they got a win, a big win the other day, I think they're going to go down. I think Leicester are going to go down. And I just got a feeling Sam Allardyce is going to just pick up a couple of wins for Leeds, and it's going to be Southampton, Leicester, and Everton for me, which is mental, mate. When you think of all the teams in the Premier League this season, that the 3 are going to go down: Everton, Leicester, and Southampton.
Yeah, 3 of the biggest clubs in the league. Like,
in my opinion, they might not go down, but that's where I see it going.
No, isn't Everton the only one who's never been relegated? One of the few.
I don't think they've never been relegated from the Premier League.
Yeah,
like the last time they were in the second tier was before I was born, I reckon.
I think you're talking over 100 years ago.
I never remember Everton being in the second tier for as long as I've been following football, which is like
30
years, 35 years.
I think they are one of like 3-4 teams maybe that's never been in the second tier of the football league, the football pyramid. So that'd be bonkers, the size of them. But I think they've been teetering on it for a while, haven't they? They've not been great for a very long time. They've been lingering around that area. So maybe it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, like I said last week actually, I think I might have been talking about Cardiff, but I used Everton as an example. Like if you continually every season flirt with relegation and you avoid it marginally or you get out on the last day of the season, like eventually it catches up with you because the teams around you get better or you just haven't got the players or whatever. And Everton have escaped in the last few weeks, the last 2 seasons. So I just think, and you look at it like the turmoil off the pitch as well, like the fans are pissed off, they're protesting the owners. Like it's not like a United, like at least like you look at Leicester, you look at Leeds, you look at Forest, the fans are behind the team and they're trying to will them to stay up. Whereas Everton, it's almost like they've come to terms with the fact they're crap and they're focused on the owners. Southampton, I think, they're 6 points behind. It's going to be very well. 6 points behind the team above them. They're actually 8 points behind Everton, who are just outside the relegation zone. Which is mental, mate, because some of the players in the Southampton side are being linked with moves to the biggest clubs in the league in the summer, which is crazy. Like normally, when teams get relegated, the big earners and the big players, they will go. But because it's a relegation team, they kind of move to like mid-table, top 10 maybe. But like, James Ward-Prowse has been linked with United, Liverpool, Arsenal, all these different teams. That Lavia, the young lad who used to play for Man City, City got a buyback clause on him. United have been linked with him. So it's quite mad that they're relegated and they look doomed, but actually their biggest players are going to move to the traditionally biggest clubs in the country, which is wild, really. But there we go. What did you make of the Champions League semi-finals, mate, this week? First of all, City versus Madrid when I 1-1 was the first one.
Yeah, it was good. I think it was. I was pleasantly surprised, if I'm honest. I was expecting it to be a lot more cagier, a lot more hang fire, see how it goes and go from there. But fair play. It was a cracking game, to be fair. They both had a go, some naughty little tackles flying about. Madrid up to their usual antics of hitting the ground like a sack of shit when a tackle went towards them and stuff. But it was I enjoyed it, mate. It was a good game, in fairness. A couple of good goals as well. Both the goals were, I think, of good quality, weren't they?
Yeah, I think Madrid, they played Camavinga at left back for a large portion of the game, which I was a bit surprised by, because obviously on paper, you look when they're signing Bellingham, they're gonna have like this young dynamic midfield of like Bellingham, Camavinga, and like Tuishimi or I forgot his name, Valverde. Like they got these 4 young, like really young lads who are just absolute quality. And I thought actually when Camavinga went into the middle, he gave him more legs. Like when you got Modric and Kroos in there, you're lacking a bit of pace. Like, look, they're so intelligent, quality technical footballers, but they ain't got no legs. Like Modric is 38, Kroos is probably like 32 or something. So like they got no legs, whereas I feel like that might be the key for them, because you've got to with City, and even the way Madrid set up, they were quite happy for City to have the ball, and they kind of set traps to try and pinch it off them and squeeze them against the sidelines as City were knocking it about. And I thought it was quite clever from both sides, because you had Man City, they're knocking the ball around, they're trying to get Madrid to press them, and then they can play through them and catch them all out of position. But then what Madrid were doing is they would sit, and then when it went out to either one of the fullbacks or the wide players, 3 of their players would press and cut off the passing lines, and they would try and like squeeze them against the sideline and then pinch the ball back in the sort of in and around the halfway line on the side and get going. It was really, really like tactically quite interesting to watch. But I feel like if Madrid adopt those tactics again in the second leg, which I think would be quite clever, probably the best way to go, because City are at home, they're going to be confident and looking to score goals and put the game to bed. If they go with that tactic again, which they should, they need to have the legs in there to do it. Like, get Camavinga in there, get Valverde in there, get either that Chusemi or you could have Cruz in there for a bit of experience or whatever, but I would have I definitely have Camavinga in the middle to pinch that ball off the likes of your De Bruyne's and stuff. But it's interesting. I still think Leslie says that Man City are the great pretenders, Madrid are the masters, City think they've done the hard work. And that's the danger, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually.
They City do. It did feel a bit like City felt like the Bernabeu leg was like, oh, we've done that, so we can just go beat them at home. It's not as simple as that. And Madrid is so experienced at doing it. Even their young players are experienced at doing it. Like I mentioned, Camavinga, he's won everything already at age 20. So he's got so much experience. They know what they're doing. And if City are even a little bit lax at the back, like John Stones, who's improved dramatically in the last couple of years, like this season, I've been very impressed with him. Never really been his biggest fan, but John Stones has been very, very good this year. But he has got a mistake.
Defensive midfielder.
Yeah, but he's got a mistake in him, mate, if he's a bit overconfident. And the way I watched them all at the end of the game, and City are bound to be happier with the result than Madrid, of course, because they got a draw away from home. It's a good result. But if they think that it's just going to be, we're at home and we're going to win because they're so used to winning at home, I think they could be in for a shock. I still think, when I look at it, I still think City might beat them this year, even though Madrid knocked them out last year comfortably. I just got a feeling this year City are too strong, and they have got the experience now as well. Where do you see the leg going on, like the second leg? Do you think City get it, or do you think Madrid will knock them out again?
Oh, it's so tricky, mate. That is such a difficult one. Just want a quick mention on the Madrid centre halves, how much of a good job they did on Haaland. He didn't get a sniff, did he? Really?
No.
They blocked off the lines that Haaland normally runs. They were nice and narrow, so he literally had no space to run in behind. Sorry, like he normally does to really get success. But I wouldn't even say that's the key to them winning, and that they at Man City, because how dangerous De Bruyne, Grealish even is, So I will go with Madrid to win on penalties.
Yeah, I think Madrid will win in normal time, but I got to say, I do think it'll be won in midfield, not necessarily Haaland or Rodrigo or Vinicius Jr. Vinicius Jr., you just cannot give him.
Oh, so good.
You can't give him any space because I saw a cut. There was one point where he was on the halfway line, and you think he's just going to recycle the ball like they do, and he just beat his man, and suddenly the whole midfield and half, he was on the halfway line with the team in front of him, but it was he just opened up the whole pitch just by dropping his shoulder. And I just think, I really do believe that Madrid, I think if Madrid play as well as they can play, they'll beat them in 90 minutes. However, if it becomes a bit of a tactical battle, which goes to extra time, I think City have got more off the bench that can do something special. So say, for instance, Madrid start with your Camavingas and the younger midfield, and they've got, say, Modric is on the bench. Yes, he can come on and he can make a defense splitting pass or something special like that. but he's not going to beat a man and whip a cross in, or beat a man and chuck it in the top corner, because he hasn't got the pace to beat a man. Whereas you look at like City's bench and they've got Alvarez, Foden, like this like a never-ending list of these players, but they're all at the peak of their games. There's not many who are in that Man City side who are like aging and past their peak, or you're thinking, this is their last season.
Yeah.
Like it's all like 27, 28, 29 or younger. And yeah, so I think basically, like I said, if Madrid turn up in the 90 minutes, I think Madrid will win. And I think they might win, not comfortably, but clearly. But I think if it goes to extra time and it starts becoming a bit of a tactical battle, that's when I think City can come into their own. And I almost think, from a City point of view, it almost goes against how they play and what they believe in. But I think, in some ways, for the first hour, it wouldn't be the worst idea to kind of just keep the ball and frustrate Madrid, tire them out, try and work for those gaps and almost play the possession football they want, but don't throw loads of men forward just because you're at home. Because actually, I think they're good enough to catch Madrid on a break, but also as the game goes on, like I say, the substitutes could make a difference.
Here's a question for you. Man City go out semi-finals. All right, they win the league. Would you say Pep stays or goes?
I actually think if they win the treble, that Pep will go.
If they win the treble?
If they win the treble, I think he will go. If he wins the Champions League, I think there's a chance he goes, because I think that's like the one thing that he's like has evaded him in it. But
you don't think he'll go until he wins the Champions League then?
Yeah, but then here's the thing. I was having this conversation with someone the other day, right? Say Pep never wins the Champions League with Man City. He's not a failure. Like, it doesn't mean he's a failure, as the Man City manager. Like, I know that he was brought in to bring Champions League glory, but a man's won God knows how many titles. Man City have dominated domestic football, arguably the best team in world football club side. So, like, I don't think you can say that he's failed if he doesn't win the Champions League. However, you have to also look at the amount of money that he's been, like, we were talking the other week about De Gea, who has obviously made a mistake again against West Ham, which cost United.
Yeah.
Now, I would imagine Ten Hag would like to bin De Gea off in the summer, or at least bring in another keeper to work and put pressure on him. A keeper which fits the way he wants to play football. But because they've got to sign a striker and a midfielder and a defender and all these different other positions, which are probably a higher priority, he probably won't be able to bring a keeper in, at least unless the Qataris come in and they've got a load of money to spend. But then when Pep came in, Joe Hart was at his peak. He was rated really highly as one of the best goalkeepers in the world, or in Europe at least, certainly in the Premier League. But he couldn't play with his feet. And Pep was like, no, I don't want him. I want Claudio Bravo. Brought Claudio Bravo in. Claudio Bravo was played for one season, was shit, and he binned him off and bought someone else in and bought Emerson in. Like, no other club in the world is able to spend a shitload of money on a player and then bin him off after a year and bring someone else in for the same amount or more money. So I don't think that takes away from his achievements. Because you look at Chelsea have just brought in like 600 million worth of pound of talent in January, and they can't get them to play together properly because there's reasons. You can't just bring the best players, or you can't just sign a load of players and expect to just win. You have to have a good leader and a manager who's going to put them together. He's going to train them. And I also think Pep has made players better. Like, you look at Grealish, took him a bit of time. He's better than he was a year ago. You look at John Stones a couple of years ago, like when I used to do shows with Andy, I used to mock him to the cows come home. I thought he was embarrassment, and I couldn't believe that he was England's first choice. But now he's improved massively under Pep. And
Nathan
I think
Ake's another one.
Kyle Walker, Nathan Ake, De Bruyne obviously has kept improving year upon year. Like all these players, they're not just winning; they're improving under Pep, and they're getting better under Pep. So I think he does deserve credit. In answer to your question, I think if he wins the treble, he'll go because there's nothing more that he can do. He will have equaled Fergie's treble. He will have won the Champions League for Man City and dominated domestically for years. So there's nothing more that he can do. It's only going to go downwards, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't be surprised if he, because he does tend to do a few years at a club. He's already done a bit longer at City, haven't he? So yeah, I think ultimately.
Not
but
to
I think,
dwell on Pep. Sorry to interrupt
Yeah,
you. Where's his next destination then? PSG?
No, because Mourinho's going there by the looks of it.
Is he?
Yeah, it looks like. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go to Italy, mate. Maybe.
He hasn't done it yet, have he?
Yeah, maybe like I would like him to go somewhere like where I would like him to go somewhere which is like a top club, but hasn't just got an open checkbook. Like I would like him to go somewhere like I don't know who's like a big club but short of money. Maybe like a Juventus or a Napoli. Like they at the moment probably have to sell to buy.
Yeah.
Like I'd quite be interested to see how he could see if I would love to see like if Pep go to Juventus and see if he can get a tune out with Pogba where everybody else has failed. You know, just little things like that. Like I'd be interested how that might develop and stuff.
Barrack, Les.
West Ham are losing.
Club, Leslie, mate.
Yeah, big clubs. Mate.
Not Tin Pot.
Not Tans. West Ham are losing currently in the Europa Conference League semi-final.
1-0 there.
Yeah. What do you think of the Milan Derby, mate?
Oh, I love that.
It went all wrong for AC Milan in that first 20 minutes, didn't it?
Yeah. That's another one I really enjoyed. Again, Italian game, Milan Derby. You know, you don't really know what to expect, but you're half expected to be cagey affair. Italian football is not the most expansive, is it? It's normally like a game of chess, usually, isn't it?
Were you surprised how bad AC Milan's central
defense
was?
Very. So much so, mate. Granted, I don't bet big. I put pennies. I put a bet on after Inter Milan went 2-up for AC Milan to go and win 3-2 because I thought it can't get any frigging worse than this. But obviously, it was a waste of about 20 pence. But I just want to say though, how good is Edin Dzeko still? By the way, like 37 years of age. And he swung that big tree trunk leg like a monster at that ball when a cross came in.
It was a great finish. Like to control it as well. And it was just a superb finish. I thought he was excellent actually all game.
Yeah, he was so good, mate. I think he was. I don't. Man City fans will probably say otherwise, but I think he's almost underappreciated in the Premiership. I don't think people realise how good he is. A bit like Giroud, if I'm honest. They're not flashy. They're very much an old-fashioned number 9 striker.
But you know what's interesting, mate, is I actually think over the next few years, the old-fashioned number 9 is going to be the most popular, like a Haaland. I think all clubs are going to kind of try to copy that stencil, which is interesting because when Dzeko was playing for Man City, that was almost like viewed as a problem, you know, that he was then an old school number 9. But I just want to say I've had a few rants this year on pundits, like people like Gabby Agbonglahor and Michael Owen. They're shocking. But I was really, 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 really disappointed with BT Sport last night. You had a Milan Derby, and then so BT Sport, right? Their coverage of the National League is superb. They have people who've played in the league. They have good commentators, and then their Serie A coverage is superb. They have great commentators. They have great pundits. They have people, journalists, and pundits who are knowledgeable about the league and the teams and the players. It's really, really great. So I'm sat down thinking, here we go. Now they're going to bring in at least a couple of their Serie A team who cover it week in, week out. But no, we had Steve McManaman and Darren Fletcher, who had done the Madrid game the night before. And Steve McManaman is shit, mate. Well, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But then it's like they bring in like these big names, like Gerrard. Like Gerrard's only ever played for Liverpool and England. Like, what the fuck is he going to tell me about AC Milan and Inter Milan? And they don't know half the players. And then the only players they do know is like they just go, oh yeah, Tomori's English and fucking Dzeko used to former Premier League player and
Mkhitaryan,
and it's like, and they just say it over and over again. It's embarrassing, mate. But there's no excuse from BT for that because they've got a team of people who they could have brought in the commentators. That team, they could have brought in one of the journalists. They could have brought in some of the pundits. The people who are knowledgeable about those teams and about how the way Italian football's played. And they could have told us the difference as a viewer. They could have explained like why this game was being played differently to the league games and all these different aspects to it. And it's like, just because someone's a big name doesn't mean that they're the best pundit or the best for the job. Just like players are not always the best managers, Frank Lampard. Let's look at, I just thought they could have been so much better. And I find it really disappointing that the coverage and the pundits over the Premier League over the last year and 18 months has been really poor in both Sky and BT. I feel like it's really dropped significantly.
Yeah, I think, I didn't really listen to much of it last night. It was more so watching because I was listening and watching you guys last night. But I had the football on in the background. But so I didn't really pay attention to the commentary side of things. But I don't know, mate. You're absolutely right. The commentary, not necessarily the commentary as such, but the pundits and these bloody panels, they're not like they used to be, are they? They're a million miles. I like Mika Richards. But I think
there's a few good ones, mate, like Mika Richards and Roy Keane, and I think Rio Ferdinand's pretty good on the whole. I didn't think he was particularly good last night, but on the whole, he was pretty good. But there's so many bad ones. Like I really feel like Steven Gerrard doesn't offer a lot. But for this particular game,
You've got to bring in the Serie A guys, haven't you?
Yeah, at least like bring in one of the pundits and have the commentary team. Because do you know the penalty which got overturned? The way Steve McManaman and Darren Fletcher was going on about it, you'd have thought it was like a Stonewall penalty. It wasn't a penalty, and because they had reacted initially and gone, "Oh, it's a penalty, definitely a penalty, definitely a penalty." They didn't want to look stupid by going back on what they said, so they just doubled down on it, which made them look fucking ridiculous and even more stupid because it wasn't a penalty. So yeah, that was a problem. Just on the subject of people, I know I mentioned Frank Lampard just now. I wanted to pull you up on something, mate. Okay. So last week when we were talking about stuff, me and Rhodri, you said in the comments, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a fraud.
Yes.
So let me ask you this, right? Why doesn't Ole Gunnar Solskjaer get the credit that he deserves for finishing second and third and getting to a European final for Manchester United? But yet Conte came in as Spurs and didn't do a great deal of good stuff with Chelsea. So Solskjaer did better than Conte. He did better than Mourinho at Spurs. Done better than Arteta in his first season, did better than Frank Lampard, like in whatever job, just pick a job. So all these people who get protected and kind of built up by fans and media and the rest of it. Yet Solskjaer has got a better record than them, achieved more than them, other than he didn't quite get over the line to win a trophy. But that European final, they lost on a penalty shootout where the keeper missed the penalty. Like, he couldn't have done anything about it. So I ask you, like, what?
Yes.
Why is he ridiculed? But the Frank Lampards of the world and Conte are built up as like they're the second coming of Sir Alex Ferguson or some shit.
It's quite an easy one, that one, mate.
They're English. No, Frank
What's
Lampard
that?
because Frank Lampard's English.
No. It's not even that. Well, yeah, partially that. But Solskjaer is a fraud for me. This, obviously, maybe this, I've held on to this for too long, but I see him as a fraud, mate, just as of how much of a shit show he was for Cardiff. I will always have him in my eyes as a fraud, and I couldn't give a shit what he achieves anywhere else. Like, that'll stay with me. So maybe I'm just being a little bitch, which probably is true because I am.
But then, is an interesting thing, right? Because I'm kind of the same to a certain degree, but like just looking at how things have panned out over the last year or so, I kind of have been thinking, maybe he deserves a bit more credit for the job he did at United. But so I'll put this to you. Obviously, he did a terrible job at Cardiff. But did you see the show I did with Kev? I think it was Kev. It might have been with someone else, but I apologize to Kev if it wasn't Kev who said it was someone else. But someone said to me that there was a point where Vincent Tan was telling Solskjaer who to play.
Yeah.
Someone
within, I remember us.
Someone within the club's hierarchy was telling Solskjaer he had to play certain. He was picking the team and telling him he had to play certain players. Like, so the only thing I would say in that situation is what he should have done is been brave enough to say, no, I'm the manager. I pick the side. If you want to pick the side, that's fine, but I'm going to go. That's what he should have done. He should have been brave. Now, that's easy for me to say years later and down the line, but I'd like to think that that's what I would have said in that situation. And I'd like to think that that's what a lot of people would have said in that situation. However, it's not as easy as that when someone's paying your wage and it's your first proper job and so on and so on. So, like, where do you stand on that, mate? Like, do you think that adds to how bad a job he did, or does it give him a little bit of leeway because maybe it wasn't all his fault?
No, look, I think, when you're hired to do a job and somebody who's got no credentials whatsoever is telling you how to do said job, it's obviously not ideal by any stretch of imagination. Look, I'm not a Man United fan, never have been, never will be, and I appreciate what he did with that United team at that time.
You could also argue he's got more out of those players, that group of players, than any other manager has got. Like, obviously, it remains to be seen with Ten Hag, but those same players failed Mourinho, Moyes.
Yeah, because and that's what I think. That's partly his downfall as well, though, mate. Because he was trying to be one of the lads, one of the boys. Like he was. Because correct me if I'm
there
wrong.
was a point, wasn't there, where he should have kind of put his foot down and
he was just trying to be liked, mate. I think, and I think that might well have been the case. With the Cardiff job, he was just trying to be a yes man, trying to be liked, trying to please people, and ultimately it backfired. And I think that's maybe I'm harsh calling him a fraud and whatnot, but I think
I do get it, mate. I fully understand.
I think he's just a little bit spineless, if I'm honest, mate. I just don't think he's got the cojones to be his own person. He can't stand up for himself and be a manager. Basically, he can't say no to people. Is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I can see that thinking, and like I just brought it up because I thought it'd be an interesting conversation because especially because I look at old Frankie Lampard, mate, and he's so overrated as a manager, and I just cannot like. He's on this run of like he's only just won his first game for Chelsea now in this second stint, and you look around the media, you'd think he was top of the league, mate. The way the media treats him, like there's no stories about him. You know, Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher are not interviewing him, like tag teaming him like they did to Ten Hag and some of the other managers where they've
look at Nathan Jones, mate. Look at Nathan Jones at Southampton. I know he didn't help himself with a few interviews he's done.
But from day one, mate,
he was hand-drawn quartered.
Day one, they were after him.
Yeah.
From the very first day he was there.
Absolutely, mate.
Yeah, it bugs me, mate. It's the same with Maguire and a few others. Like, they just leave him alone. But, yeah, it's an interesting one. But, so you think top four will stay as it is? What about that relegation zone? Who's going down from the Premier League for you? So I said Leicester, Southampton, and Everton for me.
I think Southampton.
Leeds, Forest down there as well.
Yeah, I don't. I'm torn between heart and head. In my heart, I would rather Southampton, Everton, Leeds.
Okay.
But reality is, I think you're probably right, mate. Or potentially even Southampton, Forest, and Leicester.
It's interesting, Alice, because I think out of all the five, which is sort of down there, I think Forest are the ones which I can see. I don't know. I can see Forest winning
tough,
games.
Mate. It's very tough.
But I could also see Sam Allardyce, just because of who he is, just getting a couple of wins for Leeds. Just important victories. And it only has to be against a Leicester or a team around them. And then suddenly, it's a different story, isn't it?
Who's Leeds got last now? Have we been over there? Sorry.
No, I'll have a look now. We'll have a look at the
Sorry,
have a look at the results, the fixtures. Right, let's start with Leeds. So Leeds' next three games are home to Newcastle. You expect Newcastle to win that probably. Away to West Ham, which is a tricky place, as we saw United struggled. West Ham is a difficult place to go, and then they're at home to Tottenham. So it's three incredibly tough games there. But if they're going to stay up, they got to win their home games. So they've got two home games in there. Then you've got Leicester. Have got next three games: home to Liverpool, away to Newcastle, away to West Ham. So again, it's difficult to see where Leicester is going to get points from. So Leicester and Leeds have got difficult fixtures. Then you've got Everton who play Man City on Saturday.
Yeah.
So that could be painful. Then they've got Wolves at Wolves and Bournemouth away. Wolves and Bournemouth got nothing to fear, nothing, not really playing for anything. Both playing good football. Bournemouth's in great form. But you'd argue that Everton should be able to, if they're going to stay up, they should be able to get something at Wolves, and they should beat Bournemouth at home. So that's 6 points for Everton out of the three, arguably. So Leicester and Leeds, we're both seeing how they're going to get any points. Everton, on paper, should be able to pick up at least one win, but the way they've been playing, you wouldn't be surprised if they didn't win any of them. And then you've got Forest's next three games: Chelsea away, Arsenal away, and Palace at home. But just not. Chelsea are not.
Yeah,
Chelsea.
but still,
Chelsea only was safe from relegation last week, mate.
Yeah,
but I do agree with you. Still, Chelsea at Chelsea, you'd expect Chelsea to beat Forest. So that brings you then to the next game, which is away to Arsenal, who at the moment, Arsenal mathematically can still win the league. That's going to be very difficult, but it is home.
God.
The fans will be up for it. It's a late night Saturday game. You know, it'll be a great atmosphere. Maybe Forest can pull a draw out of the bag there. And then after that, they're away at Palace, which Palace is an awkward place to go as well.
Yeah.
So,
With why?
On paper, out of the 5 teams who are in that relegation battle, Leicester and Leeds have got the worst games. So it could stay as it is with Southampton, Leeds, Leicester as the bottom 3. But Everton, much like Chelsea, are so unpredictable.
Yeah.
That those, like we just said, that on paper they could win 2 of those games, but they on form they could also lose all 3. So it's very tricky, mate, to predict. Just very quickly, mate, before we move on to the Championship.
Yes.
Who do you think is going to win the Champions League? Well, who do you think is going to be in the final first?
Milan, Madrid.
AC Milan and Real Madrid. Interesting. Interesting, mate.
Inter Milan, Madrid, yeah. I think Inter Milan, Madrid.
Inter Milan, Madrid. Right. And then who do you think is going to win that final?
I don't know why, mate. I've got a sneaky suspicion
it's going to be one of the Italian teams.
Yeah, I got a feeling. Maybe AC might get through if they do some magic. I got a feeling one of the Italian clubs are going to win it. I don't know why. I just got that inkling.
The only way I can see AC Milan getting through is if they can get Rafael Leao fit and
I don't know if he's going to be. Is he going to be fit for the
Well, I think
return?
he was. I think he could have been on the bench last night, but they decided not to risk him if he couldn't start. So I'd imagine he'll play Saturday for him in the league.
See how he goes.
If he gets through that sort of unscathed, then he should be back. Because he's a boy and a half, he is. He's a big boy as well. So he's very difficult to stop. He's so skillful. And when he's like in full flight, he's like, do you know what he reminds me of? He looks like Ryan Giggs dribbling, but he's built like Didier Drogba. So it's like, it doesn't match up with your eyes. Looks incredible player though, and he's very, very difficult to stop because he's got
he's a good talent,
but he's physical boy. The Championship, mate, on Saturday, the last day of the season or Monday, wasn't it? Was so the playoff race was so fascinating, and I just want to say, Rhodri, when you watch this back, it played out exactly like I said it was going to. Coventry and Sunderland getting the final 2 places. Blackburn tried their best, got that last-minute winner, but it was not enough. And then Sunderland in the playoffs, mate, straight up. Can they go straight up? Like, wow. It's weird, isn't it, right, mate? These are the playoff teams for the Premier League. Luton, Coventry, Sunderland, and Middlesbrough. On paper, mate, Middlesbrough should win that playoff. They're the biggest side in that group. Well, Sunderland, I suppose you could argue, is bigger in terms of fans and filling the ground every week. But I mean, in terms of history and stuff like that, I'd probably go with like Middlesbrough being a slightly bigger club. But I mean, certainly in recent history, Middlesbrough is the ones who've been there and done it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the rest of the teams haven't got Leslie Coates as a fan, do they?
Oh, this is the problem, isn't it? I think Luton are going to do it personally, but just on paper, I look at that and I think, why are Middlesbrough? Middlesbrough should be favourites. Michael Carrick doing a tremendous job.
Isn't it mad though, right? What is it? It was last year when Luton made the playoffs. And I'm sure we all said, sort of, right, if Luton don't do it now, well, I definitely thought it. If Luton don't get over the line, they'll lose the players, etc., and things like that.
When Nathan Jones went, didn't he?
Yeah, they'll drop, not necessarily relegate. They'll go from top half to middle to middle half.
Difficult for him to maintain. Certainly, I think would have been a fair assumption, just because the size of the club and the players are going to want to go.
Insane.
I think they deserve a lot of credit, mate. And when I look at it, that experience, mate, of the last few years of being there and there around the playoffs, we'll hope. You'd think that'll probably serve him pretty well now in this semi-finals.
Yeah,
I look at it though, mate, and I think if you think of it from a psychological point of view, Sunderland got promoted. Did Sunderland go up in the playoffs from League One, or did they go up automatic?
I want to say playoffs, mate.
Yeah, I think they did. Some of them might be.
I might be wrong, but got a feeling they were playoffs.
Yeah. So, like Sunderland, psychologically, I don't think they'll fear anyone because they're the form team in terms of them and Coventry have both got similar form. They've both won 3 of the last 5 and drawn the other 2. But out of the 4 teams, Coventry and Sunderland are the ones who are kind of in form and have made that late run for the playoff places. With the form teams tend to do well in the semi-finals because they just on a run of games. So what is it? It's Luton versus Coventry, in it, and Sunderland versus Middlesbrough, is it? Is that right?
Yeah. I gotta be honest. I'm the first time in a while. I'm quite happy with teams that's in the playoffs. Do you know what I mean? They're decent clubs, like this.
I can't pick who I want to go up.
No, I'm torn. If I'm honest, I'm probably. I don't know, mate. I got a bit of a soft spot for all of them in one way or another. Do you think, though, just switching gears on that, Borough doesn't go up, Michael Carrick, the Spurs?
I don't, mate. I've got to be honest.
No? Do you think he stays for another season if Borough don't go up?
I think if they don't go up, I think he'll stay for another season. But, do you know what, mate? It's a risk. Because as soon as Middlesbrough have a bad spell next year under him, if he stays, if they don't go up, say, and then they start off all right, but then around Christmas they have a wobble and he loses, 4 on a bounce or something, he'll be gone. And then it's like, oh, why didn't I take the Spurs job or the Everton job or whatever he gets offered? It's an interesting one. I don't think he'll take the Spurs job. But going back to Solskjaer, mate, who were his coaches? Kieran McKenna, who's just won the League One with Ipswich with record points or over 100 points, and Michael Carrick, who's in the playoffs for Middlesbrough, completely turned them around from where they were when he came in.
So, what does that tell you?
Well, at the time, you can't have it both ways, though, mate, because at the time, people who liked to criticise Solskjaer was blaming him for having these coaches who were no good, saying he should have brought in more experienced coaches and people to help him and the rest of it. So you cannot have it both ways. Like either
Solskjaer was no good, but the coaches were good. I got you.
Not really, because at the time he was saying people were saying he was why has he picked them coaches? So it's like it's interesting, isn't it? Because Kieran McKenna is renowned for being like so analytical and really clever with it, like how he goes about his business and analyzes every little detail. But he's also then good at, so I've been told at least, but he's good at then communicating with that analysis to the players in a way where they're not bored just like staring at a screen. Like he's supposed to be really top notch at it, mate. But again, doing that as a coach is different to managing a team, isn't it? Because you're not doing, if you're the manager of the team, you're not doing as much of the analysis and stuff like that because your coaches are doing it. So I think he's done a tremendous job, Kieran McKenna. And I think Michael Carrick, in my opinion, Michael Carrick's the Championship Manager of the Year. I'm sure Vincent Kompany will get it you know, and you can't argue with that because, you know, Burnley have gone up. They've got over 100 points, blah, blah, blah. Like, I get it. All the things I just said about Kieran McKenna, you can say about Vincent Kompany. But for me, for Michael Carrick to come in where Middlesbrough were on their knees. They were down the bottom of the league. They were struggling. They had no confidence. He came in, his first ever job in football, came in and went, I want these players, I want these coaches, and I want them in now. Got everything in quickly and then just hit the ground running, got them working, and they just gradually got better throughout the season. And even when they had a bit of a wobble towards the end of the season, he got them going again, got them grounding out results when it's mattered, and got that playoff place. One problem for Borough is they've got, I think, 3 or 4 loan players who may technically have to go back before the playoffs. I know there's always this time of year, and they're the playoff teams. They're like, your playoff players are supposed to go back at this date, and then they end up, you know, extending it or whatever. But
they could go back before the playoffs.
Yeah, I think a lot of the deals run out at like the last league game of the season.
Oh, it's just bloody stupid.
It is stupid, isn't it? But because they're not going back for anything, are they?
No,
like they can't play. Like, so say at Sunderland, you got Diallo, who scored 12 goals this season, been exceptional. Looks like he's going to get a chance at United in pre-season. Like, imagine if he goes back. What's he going back for? To watch the FA Cup final? Because he can't play. So, yeah.
Borough got on loan then?
I don't know. Leslie be better.
Leslie, tell me who you got on loan back.
He said Ramsey's gone back to Villa because he's injured. So yeah, it'd be interesting what they do. You mentioned, mate, you were glad the championship season's over. Cardiff just about survived. I talked about over the last couple of weeks how I think Cardiff have really got to get it right now in the summer. They've got to make a decision in terms of who the manager is going to be, who they're going to bring in, what the budget is. Like, I read Caba's message to the fans.
Giles.
And guy was a man who was saying goodbye, not see you next year. So,
Ooh.
Caba.
Oh, yeah, but he's not coming back.
Which is a shame, but we haven't got the money to sign someone of his quality, man. It's really, really impressed me, he did. Yeah, so do you think they'll keep Lamucci?
What the hell's the alternative? Like, in Solskjaer back again, is it?
Bellamy said he wants to stay with Burnley, and I'd imagine now they've gone up, he'd probably want to stay there even more.
No,
unless he looks at people like Carrick and Kieran McKenna and these young guys like and Vincent Kompany who are doing well, and he thinks, do you know what? I think I can do that, and Cardiff is the place to do it. But I just don't see it at the moment. I think when he might come to Cardiff is when Vincent Kompany goes for the man. If Pep leaves over the next couple of years and Vincent Kompany goes to Man City, then I could see potentially Bellamy being more open to the Cardiff job. But then he's got links to Man City as well, hasn't he? So,
yeah.
You know,
he
seems happy to be a coach rather than a manager, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I mean, going back to the original point.
What about Tony Pulis or someone like that for Cardiff job?
No, bullshit. No.
Mick McCarthy, mate, get him back in.
Big Dick Mick.
Who else could we get in?
Nathan
Sam
Jones.
Allardyce at the end of the season.
We wanted Nathan Jones, didn't we?
Oh, mate, I would take Nathan Jones in the championship, and I would take who I've been saying since Solskjaer came in, who Cardiff should have got when Solskjaer came in was Bielsa. That's who we should have got.
No.
Should have given him a long-term deal and just said, do your thing.
No. I'm not a Bielsa fan, mate. I'm not.
Mate, he's quality. I like that he thinks outside the box. I do, but it's not going to happen now. He's gone beyond us now in terms of his reputation. Yeah, there isn't really anyone who sort of stands out to me, unless you sort of look down, maybe like League One. Is there any managers down there, like young managers, who maybe you'd like to take a punt on? Like years ago, I would say get Kieran McKenna in, but realistically, why would he want to leave Ipswich for Cardiff? Seriously.
Yeah, he's just been promoted with Ipswich to the Championship.
So he's going in the same league. Like years ago, if we were pushing, if say we'd finished third or something, like you could say, yeah, come to us and push us to the Premier League. That would be a good thing. But like, you got nothing to offer him. Let's have a look. League One. Who's the manager of Plymouth? Do anyone know?
Schumacher.
What about manager of Sheffield Wednesday?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Now you test my knowledge back.
It's it's that black guy. I've forgotten his name. Darren, is it? Darren Moore. Is it?
Darren Moore. Is he?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe I might be wrong though, mate. I might be wrong. My knowledge is not great.
No, I'm not very good on League One, mate, if I'm honest. I'm not too sure the gaffers.
It's going to bug me, that is, though. I need to find out who the Sheffield Wednesday manager
Oh, what's
is.
John Sheridan?
Yeah, Darren Moore. It is Darren Moore. Yeah, John Sheridan. He'd be a good shout. Come on.
He hasn't had a job for a while now, have he?
Nah, come on, John. He's
Come on, Johnny boy.
There's no way he's out of work with his agent. What about Darren Ferguson, mate, from Peterborough? Would you take him?
No.
Too much of a yo-yo manager, isn't he? He goes up
Yeah,
and down
mate.
from the
You know for a
Championship.
fact he'll back at Peterborough in 6 months.
Yeah, and plus if he did stay at Cardiff for a couple of years, we'd just go up and then down and then up and then down and then up and then down and then it's just what he does.
Just on League One before I forget. Sorry.
Bolton in the playoffs, mate. Come on.
Who's Bolton's gaffer?
I'll tell you in a minute.
Ha! While you're looking that up, have you seen that Luke Jeffcott has been released by Plymouth? The young boy, the Welsh lad.
Yeah. Cardiff should take a punt on him, mate.
I think so, mate.
Be a good young replacement for Connor Wickham.
Yeah, he's only 23, 24, I think the boy is.
What's the worst that happens, mate? It doesn't work out, and we
come on,
send
short-term
him on loan to
contract,
Newport
6 months or something. He's bloody better than Mark Harris, for fuck's sake. Like, I mean, can't get any worse than what we got there.
Ian Evett.
Who?
Ian Evett is the Bolton manager.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Jeffcott, my thing is there's clearly something there. Sign him on a free. Worst case scenario is in pre-season and the first couple of games of the season he's shit, and then you send him on loan to Newport or wherever.
Or Wrexham.
To play a full season. Wrexham loan would be perfect, mate, for someone, a young player. Like, do you know what, mate, right? If Ruben Corwell's not good enough to play in the Championship or not good enough to play for Cardiff at the moment, I would send him to Wrexham for a year.
Yeah.
And I think that would be ideal for everyone. Because if he goes to Wrexham and has an awesome season, shows what he can do, one, his value will skyrocket because of the coverage they get. Two, helps Wrexham because he's a quality player with a load of potential. And three, he can come back to Cardiff full of confidence, having played a full season week in, week out. There you go. That's what you should do.
And we'll both be in League One with each other as well the following year.
Ruben Corwell, mate. That's what I would do. That would be my plan for him.
Yeah, I think it'd help.
Someone
with
tell
his
me I'm
physical.
wrong.
It'd help with his physical ability, I think.
Yeah,
playing
I
in
just
League
keep him, mate. If he's just going to be on the bench playing 5 minutes every 2 weeks, it's pointless. He's not going to realize his potential playing 5 minutes here and there. It's just not. It's pointless. He needs to play week in, week out. So send him to Wrexham on loan. That's what I say. Right, mate. To finish off the old show. Sorry, I just picked up my phone to do the Super 6 and I got about 65 billion messages. Right, Super 6 predictions, mate, is as is tradition. So let's have a look at the games this week. We have got, first and foremost, Manchester United at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers. I have gone for 2-0 to Manchester United because they've done quite well at Old Trafford this year.
Yeah, I won't pick the same as you then. I will go 3-0 United.
3-0. Aston Villa home to Spurs. Woof. I've gone 1-0 Villa. Go on, the Villa. They've just lost 2 on the bounce for the first time. And the new manager, or the Emery.
I will go...
Great job he's doing.
1-0.
1-1. Chelsea at home to Forest. I've gone with 1-1 because the form tells you that both teams are shit.
2-0 Chelsea.
Yeah. Southampton at home to Fulham. I've gone 2-1 to Fulham.
1-0 Southampton.
Oh, so Southampton's form is they've lost 4 of the last 5.
Yeah.
Fulham's form is they've won 2 of the last 5. But there we go. Everton versus at home to Man City.
Oh.
3-1. I've gone to City. It could be a cricket score, mate, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think 3-0 City.
Any chance Everton can pull something out of the bag there, mate? Get like a 1-0 win.
I want to say yes.
I tell you what, mate. If Everton could pull a win off in that game, that blows the title race wide open. If Arsenal keep winning.
If Dicey does his magic.
Next is Arsenal versus Brighton, and ironically, I've got Brighton winning 2-1. Although I'm not as confident about that as I was 2 weeks ago because they were absolutely abysmal against Everton the other day. I think they got a bit excited after they won against United on the Thursday, and I think they might have had a few too many shandies because they were absolutely dreadful. But yeah, I've gone 2-1 Brighton. Deservedly back on it.
2-1 Arsenal.
2-1 Arsenal. And there we go. That's our Super 6 predictions for this week, mates. Robert, I really, really appreciate you filling in for Rodders, mate. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Never a chore.
How many cans did you demolish during this hour and a bit?
Maybe 3.
That's pretty good going. Well done.
Yeah. School night.
School night indeed. So when's the championship playoffs? Are they on the weekend? The
I think it's.
Or is it on
Sunday? I want to say.
Saturday is Sunderland Luton, and Middlesbrough Coventry. I assume is on the Sunday then, is it?
Must be.
So yeah, Saturday, Sunday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday. It's going to be blinding. Who do you think? So tell me, go on, we'll do little predictions for those.
Okay.
So the Sunday game is Coventry at home to Middlesbrough. What's the score going to be?
1-1.
1-1. And then Saturday is Luton versus Sunderland at Sunderland. Who you got? Sunderland are going to win that.
2-1 Sunderland.
Good shout, mate. I think that's a fair shout, bud. Right, nice one, mate. Appreciate you. You take care. You have a good little. Hello. What is going on with this shitty thing?
What the fuck happened then?
I don't know what's going on. We're still on as well. It's just like it's just playing and ending and playing.